Okay, guys. So let's start. So till now we were talking about depth first search, or one of the graph traversal. So now in today's class, let us talk about another graph traversal, which you guys have already seen in your data structures course, called the breadth first search. Right. So what do we mean by breadth first search? As the name suggests, right, you sort of search the breadth of the sort of neighborhood before you venture further, right? So if you start from a particular vertex, if you start from a particular vertex, then you sort of explore all the neighbors before you go further, right? In other words, this is how basically most things about energy transmission or any other things happens in nature, right? So suppose you are broadcasting something, or on a network, or if you are shouting, right? If it is ideal conditions, people who are placed at equal distances will sort of get the message at the same amount of time, right? Or in other words, if you sort of drop a stone in water, right? So, and if you place some objects at equal distance from the place where you have dropped the stone, right? The ripples that are formed, right, due to the drop of the stone, right, they will reach this post at the same time, right? This is sort of yeah, covering sort of equal distance at equal amount of time, right? So this is generally what we call as breadth first search, right? And even in graphs, that is what we do, right? You start at some point and then you mark it as visited, then you go to its neighbors, then mark them, visit all its neighbors before venturing further, right? Then you go to the neighbors of neighbors and mark all of them as visited. Then you go to neighbors of neighbors of neighbors, right? So you keep on doing this, right? This is what we call as breadth first search. So let us just understand it through an example. Then we will go on to sort of see how do we implement this, and then try to see what are all the properties of this graph traversal and how we can use it in different applications. Okay, so let me just go through an example. So yeah, so we start with some vertex, so it doesn't matter. We call something as a source, right? And we will start with that vertex. Say, for example, A is the source, right? So a breadth first search always requires a source to start with. Okay, so we will start from a designated vertex, right? So this is the starting vertex. Maybe this is what we call as the source. Okay, now you start with this, and then you sort of visit the neighbors of this vertex. And with respect to the neighbors, you can choose whatever neighbor you want to visit, right? So different traversals might visit different neighbors, right? Have preferences for different neighbors, right? So here, say for example, first we visit A, right? Then there is still B, D is a neighbor, D we will visit D, then we will visit C, right? So notice that first we visited say B, then C, then D, and then C, right? So they in that order, right? So let us just maintain an order, right? So first we visited this, then this was the second vertex to be visited, this was the third, and this was the fourth, right? So then we go to the vertex that was visited just after A. Now we have finished all the neighborhood of, we have explored, we have visited all the neighborhood of A, right? Then we will go to the neighbors. Among the neighbors, B was the first vertex that was visited. Now we will try to visit the neighbors of B, right? So in that sense, we will sort of visit, say, G, then F, and then we can also visit C, but we know that C is already visited, right? We don't do anything there, right? So this is visited at interval time instance 5, right? Then we will go to the next where we have sort of visited all the neighbors of B. So then the next vertex is D, right? So we will go there and we will visit all the unvisited vertices. C is already visited. We don't have to do anything there. We will visit E, right? So yeah, that will have a timestamp of something like 7. So we have exhausted all the neighbors of D. Then we come to C. Notice that all the neighbors of C are already visited. We don't do anything, right? Then we come to after C. The next one is G. Notice that the neighbors of G are already visited. We can't do much. Then we come to F. We look at the neighbors of F. Except for H, all the other neighbors are visited. So we will visit H, right? So and sort of give it a timestamp. Then we will the next vertex that is there is basically E, right? We will come to E and we will see if there is any neighbor which is unvisited. There exists a neighbor I which is unvisited. We will visit that, right? And we will conclude it. We will give it, yeah. So the timestamp 9, right? So we have visited all the neighbors of E. Then we go to the next vertex, which is H, right? All the neighbors of H are visited. And then we will go to the next vertex I, and all the neighbors of I are visited, right? And we stop here. Okay. So this is the breadth first search, right? And I have indicated those edges which were responsible for sort of discovering the a new vertex, right? And these are what we call as the tree edges in the breadth first search tree. Okay, so this will be the breadth first search tree, which I have indicated in this orange zigzag lines, right? That will be the breadth first search tree, and this is exactly the vertices which will be visited in the breadth first search of the graph. Notice that the graph is not just this, there is another component, but the traversal will never go to the other component. While in depth first search, we went to all the components before we finished. In breadth first search, we will only visit those vertices that are present in the component of the source that is provided to us. Right? The traversal will never go to this particular component. Okay, it will stop here and it will finish. Okay, so these are basically the this is the BFS tree. What I have drawn is the BFS tree. Right, and yeah, so this is about the traversal. So is this the, yeah, how traversal is done using BFS? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, so once we have this tree, we would also like to know the levels of the tree, right? So what we do is basically we will sort of take the tree, right? The tree looks like this, right? A, then it was B, D, C, right? With B there was G and F. The D there was E. With C there was nothing. Then there was with G there was nothing. With F there was H, and with E there was I. Now we start from the root and we will call it as level 0, right? Level 0, or basically it is at the depth 0, right? Depth 0 or height 0, whatever you want to call it as, right? Then all these vertices which are at a distance from this A in this tree, these are at level 1. This is level 1. This is level 2. And this is level 3. Right? So this is again very useful in many of the applications. We will capture these levels. Okay. So yeah, before going further, we will let us try to sort of get an implementation of this. That will be the sort of implementation we will be using throughout the course, right? So, and then we'll try to again study the properties of this BFS and try to see how do we sort of exploit these properties. Okay. So coming to the pseudocode. So for any breadth first search, a graph is given to you, right? And with the graph, you also are provided a source, right? A vertex, say S, which is the source from which you need to start the source, a vertex in the graph from which you need to start the traversal, right? So initially we will do the initializations. Basically, we will have say visited for anyway. Let me just for each u belong to V of G. Say set visited flag to be false, right? So, and maybe we can even have a flag called level of u is basically something like infinity or something. Okay. So we will set these things, right? Then S is the source. So what we do is we will start the traversal from S. So what we do is we will set visited of S to be equal to true and level of that vertex S to be equal to say 0. Right? So then what we do is to sort of mimic this activity. So we use the data structure Q, right? So that it helps us in sort of before we go to the I plus 1th level, every vertex at level I should be traversed, right? So to do that, we will use the Q first in first out sort of setup, right? That will help us in achieving the sort of the way the BFS traverses the graph. So we need a queue. So what we do is we define a queue and we initialize it and we enqueue, right? Enqueue this vertex, yes, right? So we will put this vertex S into the queue, right? So then what we do is basically we keep dequeuing vertices from the queue, right? And then we keep on exploring the neighbors which are unvisited, right? While say this is the queue, queue is not empty. So then what do you do? Basically, you dequeue the queue, dequeue basically the queue. Then once we have this particular vertex, now we will visit all the neighbors of X if they are not visited yet, right? So now we have X, right? For each say XV belonging to the head set of G, if visited of V is equal to false, right? If it is not visited yet, then what you do is basically you set the visited fact to be true, visited flag to be true, then level so we also need to set the level of V to be something, then basically you push it into the queue, right? So then it would be Q will be equal to NQ say V, right? So we will end it here, right? So that's, so yeah, here what will be the level of V?
The level of X plus 1.
Level of X, because notice that V is discovered first from X, right? So it should be one distance away from X. So it will be level of X plus 1. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the pseudocode we will be using. So have I forgotten anything? You might be, yeah. So I don't know, you might have sort of seen one of the versions of the code, right? It might be this, or you might be, you might have used something else, right? But this would be the sort of, pseudocode we will be using throughout. Okay. So any mistakes? So I am writing it on the fly. I might make mistakes. So please, yeah, make sure that there is nothing wrong. Include the source, then once it is not empty, I keep on so doing this. Should be, looks okay as of now. Okay, let's see. If there is some problem, anyway, we will come to know about it. Okay. Now, what will be the running time of this?
V plus E, like N.
So the like the number of vertices in the component of the source.
The number of vertices in the components of the source, is it?
Yes, sir.
So suppose it is a single component, is it order of n?
N plus M.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. N plus M.
N plus M, right? M also comes into the picture because here we are checking for each edge, right? So we have checked it whether it is visited or not. For every edge we are checking it here. So it again depends on the degree of that particular vertex and also sum which will amount to sum of degrees, right? This while loop will be executed basically, right? Most of the things that is dependent here is how many times the instructions here are executed, because all other things are anyway constant. Here, this instruction, at least the visited flag, to check whether it is true or false, it is checked for each edge, right? It's checked for each edge, basically, which means that it is the sum of degrees, right? For any vertex x in the graph, which would amount to twice the number of edges, which would be equal to order of m plus n, right? Just like what we did for depth first search, right? So it is the time complexity.
But like in the while, then like sir, in the won't it be n into m then? Because like we are iterating every edge for each vertex. Like we are, so it will be n into m, right, sir? Because
so for each edge, how many times will this be executed?
So for each edge.
Hmm.
So, but what?
How many times will this be executed for each edge? So it will be executed if it is undirected. Yeah.
It will be executed 2 times, sir, but
2 times at most 2 times, right?
Yes,
yes. So once for x and once for v, right?
Yes, sir.
So this whole thing would be executed. All these things is constant, right? That anyway you guys know now, right? So all this is constant. So for each edge, the check will be executed maybe once or twice, right? So which means that it is something like sum of degrees, right? Twice m, right? So which is just order of m. So and the initialization takes again order of n time, right? So hence it is order of m plus n. Right? So that is the good thing. Initially, if you look at it, brute force, this looks like m into n, but we are not spending n amount of time here. We are only spending the amount of time which is proportional to the degree of the particular vertex x, right? So it is basically order of degree of x, right? Here it will be order of degree of x. Now once you sort of sum it over every x, it will just become order of degree, order of m, right? Because sum of degrees is equal to order of m. Okay, good. So this is again a linear time algorithm, right? To implement this graph traversal, what we call as breadth first search. So is this the pseudocode clear? And yeah, again, since you have already done data structures, I am assuming that you know what a queue means, right? Basically a first in first out service, right? Where you always push the uh, new visited vertices at the back of the queue, and you will remove vertices from the front of the queue, right? So that is enqueuing is pushing the vertex into the queue, and dequeuing is removing the vertex from the queue. Okay, so this is yeah, what yeah, this you should be comfortable now, right? So if you have anything with respect to any of the data structures we use in the class, please stop me and yeah, let me know, right? We can it doesn't take too much time. We can go over it for some time, and then we will be able to yeah sort of continue with whatever is required. Okay. Okay, this is the pseudocode we will be using throughout the course for breadth first search. We might make some tweak whenever it is necessary, but yeah, the skeleton will be this. Okay. So any doubts till now? So is that fine? Okay, good. So now let us come back and try to sort of find some properties of breadth first search. Okay, as I said, we are also capturing the levels of the vertices, right? Now, suppose I take any edge in the graph. Okay, suppose okay, someone is raising hand. Yeah, was it an accident or? Okay, yeah, I don't know. People are not speaking up. Yeah, so yeah, so there is um, uh, yeah, suppose you have done BFS traversal on the graph, and you have this BFS tree, and you have sort of labeled the levels for each vertex. Now you take any edge, right? So you take any edge UV in the graph. Now, can you say anything about the difference in levels of U and V?
They differ by 1.
They differ by 1?
At most one.
At most 1. At most 1. Right? So what suppose
Sir, it could, so for example, we could have, it's like, for example, you can take D and C over here. It's an edge, but they don't differ by any level.
Yeah, that is what at most by 1, right? So what people are saying is if UV.
So, but C and D are also an edge, right?
Yes.
But
Level of
they
U
differ,
minus level of V. If you
but they
take the
differ
absolute
by,
value of it, it is at most 1. Is this true? Is
so,
this
but
what you
like
guys are?
in the example, C and D are an edge, but the difference in their levels is 3.
C
No, sorry,
and D.
sir. Sorry, sir.
No.
No, no, no,
No.
no, 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 no.
So actually,
Sorry.
now, yeah, that's yeah. Whatever Janmansh got confused is also a nice question. So I indicated some numbers here, right? What are those numbers now?
Timer.
Yeah, the time they are inserted into the queue, right? They are inserted into the queue in that order, right? So this is the first vertex that inserted into the queue. Then it is B, then it is D, then it is C, then it is G, F, E, H, I, right? They are inserted to the queue in that order, right? So it is just that order, right? it is not indicating levels. Okay. Okay. So if you want, so is this color visible? What I am writing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is, let us indicate the levels using that color. So it is level 1 here, level 1 here. So G is level 2, F is again level 2, E is level 2, then H is level 3, and I is again level 3, right? So levels are indicated in this green color. I don't know what color you see it as, right? Depending on the video, right? Okay. So these are the levels, right? So yeah, what you guys said is now that if there is an edge in the graph, the difference between the vertices that are that are endpoints of that edge is at most 1. Why is this? Why is this true?
Because
Sir,
if
it
it
can't.
will be visited before, you'll get a contradiction. You'll find a shorter path through the vertex that uh, differs by 2.
Oh, you find a shorter path, or if it differs by 2, is it? Why? Suppose it is equal to 2. Say, say, say L of u minus L of v is equal to say 2. What is the contradiction?
So if the distance from the root to u is some x,
Yeah, we are not
then
talking about any distance, right? We are only talking about levels.
so we know that levels will be the shortest path.
Mhm.
We could say.
That we
So
haven't said anything about it yet. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we can come to it, but that is not even necessary, right? Can we just talk it in terms of the discovery and what happens?
Yes, sir. If the distance, like if the level difference is 2, basically greater than 1, it would be discovered initially within the first BFS. That's
Okay. Yeah. So if the level is greater than or equal to 2, what does this mean? This means that the level of u is lesser, right? So when u was discovered, right? Notice that since there is an edge uv, in the very next u would be right. So u is at some level k, right? U is at some level k, right? So we will never go to any vertex in level k plus 1 before sort of exploring all the neighbors of vertices in level k, right? So when we are exploring that, if v was there, we would have definitely been explored at level either k or k plus 1, right? It would never go to level k plus 2, right? So that's why this is not possible, right? The reasoning is anyway pretty simple, right? It would have been explored, right? So we would have explored all the neighbors, right? If it were not explored before itself, right? Or if it's not explored in the same level, it will be definitely explored in the next level. Okay. So that is good, right? So for every edge, so what does this say? Every edge, right? If you take the BFS tree, right? Every edge is either a tree edge, right? Every edge is between two vertices which differ by whose level differs by at most 1. Okay. Okay. So since the edges are this way, right? So we will sort of again label these edges in different manner. Again, the edges that were responsible for discovery of a new vertex, we will call them tree edges. Okay, tree edges. Okay, and yeah, we also want name some edges which go between vertices in the same level. Okay, for example, the edge between B and C and D and C, right? These are between vertices of the same level. We call these edges as level edges. Just to sort of use them later, right? So the tree, we have the tree edges, we have the level edges, and there are other edges, the rest of the edges. Okay, so we don't worry about all other edges. They are going between two adjacent levels, right? So these are the rest of the edges. Okay. Good. So this is okay. The level of any edge is at most 1. That's nice.
So
Now
like
let us. Yeah.
every other edge apart from the tree edges are level edges.
No. No. There are tree edges. So let me write this. There are tree edges. There are level edges. Then there are other edges. I don't want to call it any name, right? So just some other edges, right? So these are
So then,
neither
like,
tree edges. Yeah.
how do we define level edges?
The level edges are the edges that are going between two vertices in the same level.
Okay.
For example, here BC is a level edge, DC is a level edge, right? While as if you consider CE, right? CE is just some other edge, okay? It is neither a tree edge nor a level edge.
Yes, sir.
Okay. C is some edge, right? So we are not so much bothered about that sort of an edge. Okay. That's all. I mean, so yeah, in some application we might need it. At that time we will define. As of now, we don't require it. Okay. Good. Okay. So good. Now let us try to sort of this. I think is enough. So is everyone comfortable with the traversal, graph traversal now? Right? Now what we will do is to sort of use the BFS traversal in some applications. Okay. The first application is something which you guys have already, I think I had mentioned it or I had told it in the discrete math course, but I am not very much sure of it. Anyway, let's try to see if we can, yeah, recollect it if we have already done or if we can come up with a new thing. Okay. So the question is, you are given a graph, right? You are given a graph and you want to check, right, if the graph is bipartite or not. You all know what bipartite graphs are, right? Given a graph, check if it is bipartite. So if no, right? Then if the graph is if the graph is not bipartite, then what do we know? Is there a characterization for bipartite graphs?
Odd cycle.
Yeah, there should always exist a odd cycle, right? The graph is bipartite if and only if there exists no odd cycle. If it is not bipartite, then exhibit an odd cycle. Right? Okay. So how do we do this? So any answers? Someone said something. I couldn't hear. It was very feeble.
The absence of level edges.
The absence of level edges. Okay, so the idea is so what do we mean? Suppose there are no level edges, then we can say that the graph is bipartite. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the claim is that no level edges implies G is bipartite. Why? Why is this?
So there can be other edges, no? Like CE.
There can be other edges. Yeah. What I think, yeah, Adyan said was that there are no level edges. That's all. Other edges can be there. Any other edges can be there. The edges like.
Opposite could be true, right? Not this. If G is bipartite, then it would mean that it has no level edges, but the other way around won't be true.
Okay, so what direction do you want to prove? You are telling the converse now.
No, sir, this is also true.
This is also true. Yeah, why?
So if we have there are two options here now. Either we have tree edges
You need
and
to
other
basically
edges.
give me a bipartition, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. What do we mean by bipartite? We can partition the graph into two independent sets. That is what we know, right? Once there are no level edges, you should give me a bipartition.
So, but like in bipartite graph, when we are dividing the vertices into two groups, every edge should in the two, there should be no edge among the groups, and all the edges should be between the groups, right?
Yes.
So do we also say that every vertex should belong to one of the edges?
What do you mean by one of the edges? So if
I mean like some vertices in one of the groups do not have an edge at all.
Yeah, you can put it in any group. It doesn't matter, right? So those are isolated vertices. As of now, you can even probably I should have said that you can assume that the graph is connected. Okay.
So we can say that first of all we do BFS and then we put the vertices in even levels in one set and the vertices in odd levels in other set.
Oh,
so
okay. Suresh is coming up with a bipartition. What he says is you take all those vertices at even levels. So in this set and odd levels in the odd levels in the other set. So he is giving us a bipartition. Now we need to check that this bipartition is correct, right? Yeah. Why is it
For
correct?
this to be true, other edges should not be there, right?
Yeah. So like in this example from C to E, we have from level 1 to 2. Instead, if we had from 1 to 3, then the odd levels would have an edge between them. And so an other edge would exist, and that would be a counterexample.
Yeah, but 1 to 3 edge can't exist, right?
Yeah, it's not possible. I think that what Suresh is saying is correct, I think. Because like the at most difference between the levels of an edge is at most 1. So
no, in the graph, other edges can be there. No, there can be an edge between 4 and 3, right?
the thing is that we have claimed that there is no level edges.
Yeah, in the graph, what do you mean by edge between 4 and 3? C and D?
Level edge actually.
Sorry, C and I. I mean.
C and I. Yeah. Can there be an edge between C and I?
No, that's sir, because like but it's not possible because the I.
Yeah. Suppose there was an edge like this between C and I, then what would happen? When we are exploring C, we would have explored I also, right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
So then it would have come as a child of C, right? The tree would not look like this, right? I would be in the second level, right? So that was also one of the reasons why we said that the level between if UV is an edge, the difference in levels of those edges will be at most 1, right? So this is a very important property, right? This is a property which is the characteristic of breadth first search, right? So there can't exist any edge of this kind, right?
If we choose another BFS traversal, then we can choose CI, right? And still we can obtain a bipartition, right?
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, there can be innumerable BFS traversals. It depends on what you choose, right? So the BFS tree is not unique, again, just like DFS, right? So though we start from a single source, it can look very different. But yeah, what Suresh said is irrespective of whatever you are doing, you take all the vertices at even levels, level 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 into one side, and the odd levels, level 1, level 3, level 5, level 7, all these vertices into the other side. He is saying that this is a bipartite graph, right? All the edges only go across. Now, is this true?
Sir, if there exists
Sir,
a
we
level
are
edge,
claiming that if we have no level edges, then it may be true, I think.
Yeah, that is what we are assuming, right? We are assuming that there are no level edges. Then we need to prove that it is bipartite. That's the assumption. The assumption is already there that there are no level edges.
sir, we can prove that if there is a level edge, then there exists a odd cycle.
That's the other way around, right? So you are trying to prove the. So this is say claim 1. The claim 2 is there exists a level edge implies G is not bipartite. Right? This is something we can do later, right? The converse of it. Now what we want to sort of prove is that suppose there are no level edges, then the graph is bipartite, right? We need to exhibit a bipartition. I think Suresh gave us a candidate bipartition. Does this work?
Yes, sir. So
Yes.
now
Yeah.
remaining, if we consider always three edges will be from odd levels to even levels. Three edges will never be in the same level.
Yeah, correct.
and-
Three edges will always be between levels.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. And also
Adjacent
all other edges will be from odd levels to even levels, because otherwise they would be a level edge, right? So
yeah. So since the difference in level of any edge, right? The vertices participating in the level of any edge is at most 1, right? The edges are between adjacent levels or at the same level, right? So as Anirudh said, the tree edges are between adjacent levels, right? We're going from odd to even or even to odd, right? And the other edges are also from an odd level to an adjacent even level, right? Or an even level to an adjacent odd level, right? So which means that there can never exist any edge between two vertices of which are in say this partition A, this part A, this is part B. There can never exist an edge between two vertices which are in part A, because that would mean that if xy are those vertices, if they are in the same level, if there exists an edge, then it would contradict our assumption that there are no level edges, right? And if they are not of the same level, then their difference in their levels is at least 2, right? And by this property we have proved, we know that the edge of such kind is not possible, right? There can never be an edge between two vertices whose levels differ by at least 2, right? So such an edge is not possible, right? Which sort of proves that once there are no level edges, right, then that level is basically that level forms an independent set, right? Now if you take alternate levels, right, those form one side of the bipartition, and we can always get the bipartition by taking all the even levels to one side and all the odd levels to another side. Right? Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
if suppose there's an edge between two even levels, we can't. I think I did not. Why
Yeah,
can't there be
suppose
an
there
edge
exists an edge
two
between
even
two even levels, right? So let's say the edge is between x and y, right? So these are two vertices at even level, right? Now let us prove why that is not possible. Now it depends on the level of x and level of y. Suppose level of x is equal to level of y, then what can we say? Is that
It's
possible?
an odd cycle. It'll be
No.
like an odd cycle.
No, it is not an odd cycle.
So by our assumption, we said no level edges. So
Exactly.
it
That is so. This cannot happen. This is contradiction, since no level edges. right? So this is not possible. So the only other possibility is, so these are at two different levels, right? So without loss of generality, assume that say level of x is greater than level of y. Then what can you say about the difference in their levels?
It will be 2.
More, it's
2
more
or,
than-
Yeah, it will
2
be
or
2 or
greater.
more. Yeah, it will definitely be 2 or greater. So level of x would be greater than or equal to level of y plus 2, right? Which is again a contradiction to this property which we proved, right? So because xy is an edge, if xy were an edge, right, their level should differ by at most 1, right? So we have assumed that there is an edge xy, but the levels are differing by at most 2, which means that our assumption that there is an edge xy is wrong, right? So such an edge cannot exist, right? Is that fine, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So this
So
difference between level less than equal to 1 is only for the only after the BFS, right?
yes, that is after the we have done the BFS. See, we are talking about level edges only after BFS. So I assumed that when people said I mean they have done the BFS and they have sort of labeled the edges. And Suresh said that once there are no level edges, yeah, then it is bipartite.
Understood.
Okay. So otherwise we can't name them as level edges, right? So you have done the BFS, right? The algorithm here, right? So do BFS and label edges, right? Then if there are no level edges, then what they are saying is that the graph is bipartite. Otherwise, it is not. If there is a level edge, then it is not bipartite, right? So that's the sort of algorithm. Because even before going into that algorithm, we are trying to sort of see why it is true, right? Only then we will sort of write the algorithm, right? So the candidate algorithm, right, is sort of yeah, we can write it so that it becomes a bit more easier for us to sort of argue. So this is the candidate algorithm. We don't know whether it is correct.
Sir, are we assuming it's a connected graph?
Yes, we are assuming it is a connected graph. That is given as a connected graph. As of now, let us assume it is connected. Even if it is not connected, we can still do it, right? But as of now, let us assume that it is connected. Okay. So say bipartite check, right? You are given a graph G, right? Then what you do is basically start BFS from a vertex. It doesn't matter which vertex it is, and label edges, right? Second, if there exists a level edge, then say no, right? If no level edge, say yes. This is the, yeah, we still have to output the odd cycle. That anyway we will talk about it later. So this is the sort of yeah candidate algorithm, right? So in that I think Suresh, what he said is, suppose we said yes, then it is correct, right? Then it is always bipartite, right? That is what we proved now, right? You gave us a bipartition. You take all the even levels, right, on one side and all the odd levels on other side, right? That will give us the valid bipartition as long as there is no level edge, right? Good. So is that part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now what about the other one?
Sir,
Suppose if we say no.
We can
Yes, sir.
do
Sir,
that
we
by
can say
taking
that-
those two vertices and first common ancestor.
Okay, so what Pranav is saying is that suppose there is a level edge, then we are sort of showing exhibiting an odd cycle, is it?
Yes, sir. So basically, like if there is a level edge, we take their common ancestor. Now there is an edge between the common ancestor and both the vertices, and there is an edge between both the vertices. So all these three vertices cannot be placed in two groups. We need at least three groups. So
Okay.
by that we
If
can say
suppose there
that
is a level edge like this, right? So X and Y are in the same level, right? Now you said that you take the common ancestor, something like this, is it?
yes, sir.
Now, why should such a common neighbor exist?
Sir, I have another intuition.
1 minute, 1 minute. I will come to it. Who is it? Malcolm, is it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, 1 minute. Yeah. Let us just finish with Pranav. Yeah. Yes, Pranav. So, is it necessary that you as adjust to X and Y?
So like
Yes, sir. Yeah. Like if there exists in level, either they
So-
can be on the first level. If there has to be two vertices on the same level, no, and
Yeah.
they need to have a first common ancestor.
Yeah. What is that first common ancestor? It need not be this one, right?
Yeah, it need not be this one, but it has to be like we have to travel up the same number of times, right? Like from both X and Y. Suppose we travel K levels up, then it will be 2K plus 1. So
Okay.
eventually
Yeah.
it will be an odd level only.
Okay, you think about it. Yeah, that is almost right. Sort of you sort of try to formalize your answer. Why such an ancestor exists and things like that. By the time, let us listen to what yeah, Malcolm says. Yeah.
So it's along
Malcolm.
the same line, sir. Basically,
Yeah.
thing is, since they're of the same level, they'll have the same number of ancestors, sir, because it's a level edge.
Okay. Yeah. So does every vertex has an ancestor?
Unless they're like two different sources, they'll have an ancestor. Like let's
There is
say if X
in BFS we said that there is only one source. Yeah.
okay, so yes, so then they'll have an ancestor. So if you take like two level
Except
edge
for the
vertices,
source, right? The
yes, sir,
source
yes, sir.
doesn't have an ancestor. Yeah. Except for the source, every vertex will have an ancestor. Okay.
Yes, sir. And since they're in level edge, they're technically of the same level, sir. So like they'll have equal number of ancestors towards a common ancestor, towards the source basically, or the source, regardless. So then, sir, regardless, like if you add two odd numbers, basically the number of edges between from the level, like from X to its ancestor and from Y to its ancestor, you'll get an even number regardless, because 2K is even, and the level edge will be the odd edge, making it the odd cycle.
Okay. Okay. Good. So I think this is what nice. This is what Pranav was also trying to say later, right? So X and Y are at the same level, right? So which means that both are not sources, right? So since it's a level edge, both are not sources. Now, does there exist a common ancestor for X and Y, right? How do we say that there exists a common ancestor, right? So is there, how do we prove that there exists some common ancestor?
If we keep backtracking from X,
Is there some vertex which is always a common ancestor?
Yeah,
That's
source.
the easy
The
thing.
source.
Right? That's the easiest answer, right? Yeah. So source is always a common ancestor, right? So which means that these two vertices will have at least one common ancestor, right? Which would be the source, right? But yeah, so once we keep going like this, we might go to the source, right? At some point, there might be a lot of vertices here. But do we want to go to the source?
no, sir, we want the first common ancestor.
Okay, so what do you
closest.
mean by, how do you define first common ancestor?
So if we backtrack from X upwards, the first vertex, which is an ancestor to both X and Y.
Okay, so what Anirudh defines as the first common ancestor is, suppose you start from X or Y, right? And you sort of go up towards the root, right? Towards the sources, right? The first time you get a vertex which is both an ancestor for X and Y, he calls it as the first common ancestor, right? First common ancestor, right? So, or this is sometimes also called the least common ancestor, or even the lowest common ancestor, or nearest common ancestor, whatever you want to call it, right? Generally, I think in literature, least common ancestor or lowest common ancestor is something that is used, LCA, right? So you go from X and Y and you look at the least common ancestor. Suppose that least common ancestor is U, right? So then what do you want to say?
Then the cycle is ux uy x uy x. So that's an odd cycle.
So basically, the path from UPX and U union, say UQY, right? This is the path in the tree from U to X, right? This is the path in the tree from U to Y plus the edge XY, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is this an odd cycle?
Yes, sir. Because ux and ui have the same length.
Yeah. This is some length k, whatever, whether it is odd or even, it doesn't matter. This is one edge plus one. It is 2k plus 1. For whatever k it is, 2k plus 1 is an odd number. So this is an odd cycle, right? This is an odd cycle, right? So this is an odd cycle, right? So which implies that G is not bipartite, right? So good, right? And we also can exhibit this odd cycle, right? So this is the odd cycle which we can sort of exhibit in the algorithm. Okay. So which sort of says that the algorithm is indeed correct, right? The algorithm we have sort of written is indeed correct, right? Did we I think in discrete math course, we proved that a graph is bipartite if and only if it doesn't have an odd cycle, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So hopefully that is enough, right? So we know that, so it should be enough. Okay. So all of you know what a bipartite graph is. So we have exhibited an odd cycle, right? Now, how much time does this algorithm take? So is everyone convinced about the correctness of the algorithm?
Yes, sir.
When the algorithm says yes, then the graph is bipartite. When the algorithm says no, then it is not bipartite, right? You should be correct of both these directions. Only then your algorithm is correct. Only if it says yes correctly and no if it says wrongly, it is not the right algorithm we want, right? In both times, it should say give us the correct answer, right? Here we have proved that in both cases, when it says yes, then we have given the bipartition. When it says no, right, we have shown an odd cycle, right? So in that sense, it is correct. The algorithm we have sort of come up is a correct algorithm. This is the proof of correctness. Both these things, claim 1 and claim 2, give us the proof of correctness. Okay, good. Now, what about the time complexity?
I have a doubt.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The other edges, right? Other than the three edges, level edges, and there are other edges.
Yeah,
And
there
so
are other
the
edges.
between, so the edges between different levels will be under the level, the other edges, right?
Yes.
So then, suppose there are edges between even levels. So those, I mean, if at all they were there, then they would contribute to even odd cycles, right?
Will they? We are not even bothered because we have proved that a bipartition exists, right? So there are other edges. Will they contribute to an even to an odd cycle? Is that possible?
So if in the BFS if it rejects the if you don't get, I'm a bit confused actually.
Yeah. Notice that they are here. All the other edges can be here. They go from here to here, come back here, come back here. If you want to close the loop, it would be an even cycle. Cycles do exist, but what we are just saying is that odd cycles don't exist. Cycles can still exist. Okay. So, or in other words, you need to go back to the proof of bipartiteness, right? We have definitely proved that there doesn't exist any edge between two vertices here and here. These two are independent sets, right? Which means that it is bipartite. Now, if you believe that bipartite graphs do not contain any odd cycle, then the proof is done. If you don't believe it, then we need to go back and see why it does not contain any odd cycle. Right? It is something like if you name all these vertices as 1 and this as 2, it is like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you want to close the loop, right? So it will always be alternating, right? The cycle again will always be alternating, right? So it will always be a even cycle, any cycle you have. Yeah, that is one quick way of seeing, yeah. So yeah, Alan, are you still confused? You can think about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm
so,
fine. I answer.
Yeah. So you think about it. You guys think about it. Still, if it's confusing, yeah, you can think about for 2-3 days and try to see it. Right. If you again are confused, yeah, in the next class you come back with those questions and we will try to again answer it. Okay. I mean, it's okay. I mean, once you are seeing this for the first thing, again, it looks like, yeah, there are so many other edges. Why should it always go from here to there, right? So that is yeah, a bit yeah, it looks like a leap of faith, right? So yeah, we can try to see why yeah, it is true. Right? Yeah, that you think about, but yeah, what is the runtime of the algorithm?
Linear.
Linear. Why?
It's only BFS that.
Only just labeling and.
Yeah, we are labeling,
So
right?
it is.
How much
go
time
up.
does the labeling take?
It will be done in
Same as
BFS only.
It will be labeling of edges, right? Levels, yeah, it can be done in, we can know about the levels in linear time in the BFS itself. What about labeling the edges as tree edges and level edges and other edges?
So like suppose like it'll only take, we can go through all the edges once, so it'll be like M.
You can go
or
through
you
every
can do BFS itself, like if we get a edge to a vertex on the same level, then stop there itself.
Okay. Yeah. So you can also, yeah, label these edges in linear time, in order of M time. For each edge, you know the levels of these things, right? So based on that, you can either mark it as a tree edge. The traversal, in the traversal itself, you can always mark the tree edges, right? So now, once you take any other edge, right? If it is in adjacent levels, it's another edge. If it's in the same levels, it's a level edge, right? So you can keep doing this and that will be fine. Okay, good. That's nice. So you can always label these edges. And how much time does it take to find this common ancestor to exhibit the cycle? Can we do it in linear time?
Yes, sir. Because we're backtracking, and at most we will have to backtrack or like climb up n steps.
How do you backtrack?
We start from x and.
How do you do it? What? We are not maintaining anything right there.
Yeah,
right?
we can maintain a previous during our when we're doing a BFS, we can maintain a previous array which maintains the parent of every child.
Parent BFS, sir, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you want to maintain the parent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So you can maintain. You can use a data structure called previous or predecessor or parent, right? Which will sort of maintain the parent of every vertex in the BFS tree which we are building, right? The parent is unique, right? So once you sort of maintain that, from every vertex you can always go to the parent to get the path, right? From that particular vertex till the root, right? All along that path you can keep going, and at some point there will be a once you see a common vertex, if it is common, then yeah. You keep on doing, you get two different arrays, then you basically can compare them, right? That is still linear. You can do it in linear time, right? So,
or we can just do it simultaneously, and whenever we get the same vertex, we are done.
Yeah, you can start, you can do simultaneously. You can just start with a for loop going from you can find the predecessor pointer at level, if these are at level k, find something at level k minus 1, k minus 2, k minus 3, right? And at each time you keep checking if they are the same vertex, right? So that also you can first time once you check, you break the loop and come out, and that will be the least common ancestor. Okay. Now, you would also would have captured the paths from x to u and y to u, right? Those paths along with this edge will give you the cycle, that is the odd cycle that is required. Okay, so you can still do it in linear time, right? So all this, the whole thing can be done in linear time, right? Order of m plus 1. Though we are doing it many times, right? It is still only constant number of times, right? Which is okay.
Yes. Sir.
Okay. So the thing is, now what? So are you guys comfortable with these data structures?
Yes, sir.
So now do one thing. So can you guys implement all the algorithms we have done till now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have 2-3 days time, right? So this notice that this will be a very good again starting point for your data structures course. Once you do this, the later part of your course where you need to implement this, you will readily have them, right? So thereby you will also understand something of it, right? Now anyway you have at least 3 days, right? So you have the weekend, right? So try to implement these algorithms, okay? Whatever we have done, the algorithms for depth first search and the algorithms for breadth first search, right? At least for this problem, right? So once you sort of implement this, you would have implemented queue, you would have implemented some way stacks, right? Maybe the strongly connected component might take a bit more time, but again, once you already have this modules for breadth first search and depth first search, it is a simple tweak, right? I want you guys to sort of implement all of this and be comfortable with it, right? Then you will sort of see how these things run, right? And most of you guys might already know these things, because if you are doing competitive coding, right? You need to know these are very basic things you need to know, right? DFS and BFS, right? So I would sort of strongly advise you guys to implement it to get an hands-on experience. That will also sort of help you in understanding the time complexity of whatever you write. Okay. So is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, guys. So
So I was just can we do the same bipartitioning using a DFS, where we just start from any node and we label it as 1. We then when we go to its child, we label it as 2. We keep alternating, and if we hit a contradiction, then it is not possible. Otherwise, we have.
When do we hit a contradiction?
If we hit a contradiction if there exists an edge between same levels. So if a node has already been visited and we have an edge from the current node to that node.
You do a DFS. Say, for example, we do a DFS of this. Since it is connected, it will be a single DFS tree. You do a DFS and you get a DFS tree. So you get all this. Since it is, suppose it is undirected, there are all these tree edges and back edges. Okay.
Non-tree edges.
Yeah, non-tree edges are back edges in a DFS, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when do you say that? How do you compare now? Now you have labeled everything as 1 or 2. Is it?
Yes, sir. And if there is an edge between same level, then we have a contradiction.
Or if there is an edge between two vertices which are labeled 1 or labeled 2, then there is a contradiction, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what. Yeah, that also you can do actually. Actually, it is indeed correct, right? If there is a, the only thing there is that, yeah, how do you prove it?
Yes, sir. That's what I was not really sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
So
What
like,
Anirudh is saying is a good idea. So yeah, how do you, yeah, Aditya, you are telling something.
so like, can we say, like, this is a general question. If we do BFS or DFS from any vertex, like all the vertices will lie on the same level in both the trees. Like wherever they were lying on the BFS tree, the same level on the DFS tree too they will lie. Can we say that?
Not necessarily, right? There is no level with respect to DFS, right? So all the neighbors of a particular source can come in the same single line, right? So, or in other words, if the graph has an Hamiltonian path, the DFS will look like a path, right? So there are no divergence, and yeah, so the BFS tree, the DFS tree and BFS tree, the depth first search tree and the breadth first search tree, they need not look the same. They can look completely different, right? So in that sense, there is nothing called level, right, in a DFS, depth first search tree. But what Anirudh says is a nice thing. Yeah, can we sort of work it out? So that this also I would leave leave it to the class to come up with a proof that it works, right? I think it works. Now you guys think over it and come up with a proof that it works. Okay, we'll at least I want you guys there is still some time, right? I want each one of you we can go through the proof now itself, but I don't want to do that because I want each one of you to go back and think over that, right? This is how you sort of build algorithms, right? See, later after you have completed your BTech, you will go for your higher studies, or you will sort of go and work in a company. Wherever you go, you will sort of design algorithms, right? Now, how do you design algorithms? So if someone wants you to implement minimum spanning tree or depth first search, you can always implement it or you can get it. But that will not be the only things you will be doing. You might want to sort of implement a new algorithm. Then how do you do it, right? So you need to follow this process, right? So I want you guys to sort of get into that process of trying to come up with an algorithm. Every time you try to come up with, basically that is what you do. You will check the correctness. If something goes wrong, you will again go back and try to sort of tweak something there and then try to correct it, right? So yeah, you will keep on getting different ideas. Now how do you sort of prove it? So this is one idea which Anirudh gave. Now let us try to see if we can prove or disprove it. Okay, both are good. Okay, so we'll try to do it. So that also you guys try to think it over the weekend. So when we come to our next class on Tuesday, we'll take up this question and try to answer. Okay, is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, good guys. So any other questions with respect to what we did today or what we have done till now? So
so the concept of finishing time and all isn't relevant in BFS trees, right?
We are not using it. Yeah, as of now, yeah, discovery time and finishing time. Yeah, we are not. That concept is not being used here as of now, right? So if we need at some point, yeah, let's see if we need it. If we need it, we will try to do it, right? For most of the applications where BFS is used, we don't need that so much, right? So if we need it at some point, yeah, then we will try to use it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, mostly explorations, it is always based on applications. In some applications, if we need, we will sort of tweak it and try to use it. Right? In DFS, it makes a lot of difference, right? The finishing time and discovery time. Here, not so much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, okay. So is that fine? Okay. So any more questions? There are no questions.